Hello, welcome back. It's me, Alan Chronicles. I guess, I've always hoped it to be, and I want it to be. And I know people say this has become a bit of a trope, a bit of a meme, a quiet place on the internet, not a safe space. I think that's an over-exaggerated phrase. A place where you can come down to be, where you can be not overstimulated. And in this episode, this section, I kind of want to talk about a few things, but they're linear. They'll progress. So I make notes, and one of the things I look is why modern life feels so intense. And I was thinking back, and we look at the videos on Generation X, right? Because I'm 60, born in 65, and we talk about, or they talk about, and I've talked about a little bit, things we used to do as kids and why the world wasn't as intense, but it was more interesting from a stimulative perspective, physically stimulating, emotionally stimulating, but in what we felt was a positive way. We talk about latchkey kids, and we talk about going out and playing, and that's when people have adopted this touch grass, which I always find a little bit patronizing, because everybody knows that if you go out, not everybody, but I can use a generalization here. Everyone knows that if you go for a walk, enjoy a bit of peace and quiet, it's good for you. Yeah, but then equally we get dragged back into this digital world of news and media and, constant notifications and outrage cycles and attention pressure and the algorithm and TikTok and X and this and that and the other. And all those things, they tend to desensitize us to the effect it has on us until we stop and we realize we're drained, right? And that your nervous system is fatigued. And I have that. And if you're honest with you guys, let me know. Do you have that as yourself? And I guess one of my strategies is, it's not a strategy about touching grass, it's recognizing what's happening to me. And it does. I get my attention drawn. I get hooked into it. I lock on, I'm focused, and I'll pursue it till I'm exhausted. That's what I used to do, and that's what I still sometimes do, because I'm fallible, I make mistakes. So it's not my advice, but my own self-practice has been, this is how silly I've got, right? As I'll go on YouTube, and I'll look up 13 different things that I've got no interest in, hoping to dismantle the algorithm. Doesn't work, because the next time I look at the news, I get 15 news posts. But while I'm trying to disrupt the algorithm, I have found things that I found, I didn't think I'd be interested in that. Like, what was I looking up? Not bees. There was something I was looking up the other day, and I thought, there's no way I'll be interested in that. Was it something to do with chickens? I can't remember, right? I can't remember what it was distinctly, but I suddenly found myself being actually interested. And then I realized it was my subconscious brain saying, you need to do something different. This is not good for you. So I developed this strategy of disrupting the algorithm. Doesn't work, but it gave me 3 other things that I enjoy looking at. So I got back into looking at my cameras. I got back looking, that was it. It was a young lady, she was reviewing I think she read Lord of the Rings in 8 hours or something. And I was fascinated, reading 2 hours at a time, which I used to do as a young person. I was just voracious in reading all the time. I remember when I went to the Falklands and served there, I think I read the whole trio of Lord of the Rings. I read Jeffrey Archer wrote Cain and Abel and all that. Then we had this portable library. I was reading everything. And then for years, up until before I did my postgrad, I used to read a book a week, yeah? But then I've stopped. And then now that I've saw her reading this 2 hours, this challenge, she put that was it. She read Lord of the Rings, but she wasn't a fantasy reader. She used to read other types of books, and she read all 3 over so many days, and it was really interesting to watch her get beyond that bias she had and into enjoying the story. So reading, I've picked up reading again. And in that, when I was reading, I realized although my brain was going, I was actually slowing down. I think if you put a blood pressure thing on me, it'd come down. And in all of this, guys, I have to work like everybody else. YouTube isn't going to be a monetized thing. And like I've said in my first video, just like a couple of days ago, this is not going to get monetized. I'm not going to sell you anything. But I do want this to be a place to remind myself by talking out loud with you guys, disrupting the algorithm, finding a safe space, a safe place to think, not to be. And that thinking space and place was a book. And behind me in the corner there, I've got a bookshelf. I think you can see the top of it. I'm going to expand that bookshelf because I've got more over here and more over there. And you can see my guitar on the wall. I love music. So in forming this channel, I know there are other videos, but to find what I consider to be what the channel's about, it really is this. Yeah, it's this. Finding that place where someone can come on and talk and can be heard, where you guys can get in the comments and say, Alan, if you're reading, what genres do you like? And I say, well, I like all sorts. You know, what is it? There's no rambling sort of long-winded dialogues about, you know, what have I seen recently? I was asking myself about influencers and business influencers on YouTube. And one of the things I got really annoyed with is why everyone needs to be successful in business. Because it makes money, because it employs people, because you get some fulfillment. Is everybody that goes and taps into a YouTube video that says how to set up your business, 10 easy steps to being a millionaire in 30 days. Well, surely, guys, just reading that. And then I realized, no, don't assume anything about anybody. You know, you make an assumption in that old joke, isn't it? What does assume mean? Well, it makes an ass out of you and me. So I'm not going to assume anything about you guys. I'm just going to come on here and talk things through. And I'm laying the foundation so you can get used to how I think and I can get used to your responses. So if you're feeling quietly tired, if you're feeling overstimulated, if you want to engage with someone on YouTube, sat in a quiet place, and you want to discuss things, I'm not your therapist, I'm not your psychiatrist, but if it's the latest book or the latest movie or did you catch that, Alan? And here's my thoughts on what you said, then just stay, guys. I'll enjoy it. These are chronicles. They're mine, but they could be yours as well. Till next time, guys. Take care.